talking about Black Superwoman Syndrome. But I mean, even if you're not a Black woman, you can have Superwoman Syndrome. But it was specifically about Black women Superwoman Syndrome and feeling almost like I don't have the right to complain because I have it all together on the outside. So I don't even have the right to complain because, I have a good job, I have a business, I have my family. It could be worse and all this stuff. And then you just like, again, you're emotionally isolated. Or what if I tell them and then they're like, yeah, but you're strong. You're Superwoman.
Welcome to the Mommy Mogul Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Shawnee Faye, empowerment coach and business mentor. If you're looking for a place to get real about balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship, if being a part of a community of faith-filled mommy moguls sounds like the right place for you, then come on in, sis, have a seat and get comfortable because you have found your place and you have found your people. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss an episode. I promise you won't regret it. Our special guest today is Miss Seneca Williams. I'm so excited to have her on. This is going to be a really great conversation. All of her contact information will be in the show notes or the description box below, depending on if you're watching or if you're listening. Everything will be there so you can reach out to her. So Miss Seneca, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I just got to say that I love talking to moms, especially mom entrepreneurs, because that is special, right? Like raising children and then raising a business, it's like you have multiple, it's like another baby having a business.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
And it's like, which one do
Yes.
I give attention to? So we'll get into
Right.
that. But for those of you who are just meeting me for the first time, I'm Seneca Williams. I am a licensed therapist and coach and speaker. And I support careerpreneurs and entrepreneurs who may be dealing with high functioning mental health. So it might be high functioning anxiety, high functioning depression. You are the go to person that feels like you have no one to go to. I also am the founder of the Conquer Network, which I support entrepreneurs who are dealing with business anxiety so they can break through their fear of sales, their fear of marketing, branding, niching, networking, all the things. And
Yes.
I also help them prevent burnout as well in entrepreneurship. So I know I said a lot there, but I know we have time so we can get into it.
Yes. Well, you have no shortage of clients because I think every entrepreneur is probably like, yep, I experienced that one. Oh, definitely had that one. Because it's so easy to get burnout, especially when you're starting because you want to do all the things. You're looking at everybody else and where they are, and it's only natural to want to compare to where they are rather than actually where they started. And so you're trying to do all the things all at once and you're like, I have to get them all, done at the same time. And it can be very, very challenging and very overwhelming. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I'm glad that you're a resource that can definitely help people with that. So again, if y'all are listening or if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you connect with her. And, mental health is very important. We should not take it for granted. We should not push it to the wayside. It actually helps to enhance our business and our productivity if we are taking care of ourselves first. So, yes. Well, tell me a little bit about your program and kind of how it works. Like when you have someone come in as a new client, like what do you assess first?
Okay, so I'll tell you both, like when I have clients as a therapist versus coaching, because they are different. They're very separate
Okay.
things. So sometimes I'll have people come to me for therapy. They're
Okay.
realizing that they're not functioning the way that they used to or the way that they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And they're starting to notice, like, we're speaking directly to moms. They're starting to notice, like, I'm not feeling so good about my
Mm-hmm.
mothering. I'm feeling guilty,
Right.
like things are falling to the side. I'm not showing up the way that I want to. If you have kids in school, this time of year, it's back to school. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm already overwhelmed dealing with their schedule and their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to still run my business and still take care of
Yeah.
my mental health. So a lot of anxiety is popping up, like worrying about how is this going to work, worrying about how are you going to fit things together. Are you going to be able to make it to that meeting? Are you going to be able to make it to the kids' soccer practice and pick them up and drop them off? And do you have help or not? And who's going to help you? And who's going to pick this one up? You know, all those things that you're
Yeah.
anxious about, and it keeps you up at night. You're worrying about it. Or it could be even financial stuff that you're worrying about, especially at this time of year as we get to the end and you know the holidays are coming up and I got to make sure I have
Mm-hmm.
sales and I got to make sure I market and I got to make sure I got all this stuff going. All of that
Yes.
stuff comes up. And then people start feeling like, oh, my heart is beating fast,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm having
Yeah.
stomach aches, or I'm just jittery all the time. So, like, that's the high functioning anxiety because they are functioning. They are doing the
Right.
thing. No one can tell they're anxious, you know, or stressed
Right.
out,
Yeah.
but it's happening.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So let's rewind because so when you say high functioning anxiety, that means that they are experiencing all these things, but it's internal. It's not reflect.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. There are so many
okay.
women out here doing the thing, right? They're out here
Right.
making moves and they're
Mm-hmm.
successful, but you have no idea that when
That
they
they're
go
really
home,
crumbling inside. Yeah.
inside, they
Yes.
are
It's
struggling.
I saw a meme that was like when your friend calls you and says, you know, I'm not doing so well and they say, "Girl, you'll be fine. You got this." I'm telling you I don't got it.
Like, I
Like
don't.
I don't
I
have it.
don't.
So those are the kind of people who need those are the people who everybody goes to and they don't have anybody to go to and they should come to you.
Exactly. Exactly. I
Yeah.
actually recently did a podcast where I was talking about Black Superwoman Syndrome. But I
Mm,
mean, even if
that's a
you're
thing.
not a Black woman, you can have Superwoman Syndrome. But it was specifically about Black women Superwoman Syndrome and feeling
Mhm.
almost like I don't have the right to complain because I have it all together on the outside.
Mm.
So I don't even have the right
Ooh.
to complain because, you know, I have a good job, I have a business, I have my family. You know, it
Yeah.
could be worse and all this stuff. And then you just like, again, you're emotionally isolated. Or what if I
Right.
tell them and then they're like, yeah, but you're strong. You're Superwoman.
Right. And you know, and it's like I have friends who always tell me, "Oh my god, you're so good at this, you're so good at that." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's exhausting being this good at things all the time." And so when I show up like I'm going to show up like everybody else. I'm going to just be regular. I'm not going to be extra like I normally am. I'm gonna just be regular. They're like, "It's nice, but it's not you." And then there's that like, "Oh my gosh, am I not doing enough? Like, how come I can't show up regular like everybody else?" you know?
Right.
So that's that superwoman thing. You always feel like you have to go above and beyond because that's the expectation. And there's a heavy guilt that comes with
Mhm.
not showing up that way.
Yeah. Hmm.
Mm,
Lots of stuff. So, like,
wow.
that's the therapy stuff, right?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah,
said I was
yeah.
going to talk about therapy. We could talk about that the whole time, but that's a lot of
right. Yeah.
the internal dialogue and the thoughts and the emotions that lead people to have that anxiety or depression, and it's high functioning only because they are functioning at a high level. So no one can tell
Right.
they're not in bed with the blinds closed and the covers over their head. They are still showing up. They're leading the
Right.
meetings. They're doing the things. So no one can tell but them. They know. But
Now,
that's
I did want to
yeah,
ask, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to know, is it possible for women to not know that they have that because they are high functioning?
yes,
Like they know that they're feeling something, but like you said the word, and I assumed it was something else until you explained it. So is it possible for some women to know like, something doesn't feel right, but and not know exactly what it is?
yes, absolutely possible. Because we were
Mm,
led to believe that mental health looks a certain way, that
right.
depression looks a certain way, that anxiety looks a certain way. oh my goodness, anxiety is when you're breathing in the bag and you're hyperventilating,
Uh,
right? So we
correct.
were we
Yes.
were taught like this is what anxiety looks like, this is what depression looks like. And then it's like, well, I'm not either of those things, so I'm fine. But
Right.
like, but you
So
know
I
you're
must
not
be
fine.
okay. Okay. I hope y'all listening. I hope they're listening.
So, right,
Wow.
something's
That's
wrong. You know something's wrong. And if you even
mhm.
have a hint that something's wrong, something doesn't feel right with me, I don't feel my best. That's when I say go to therapy. Don't wait to crash. Don't
Yeah.
wait till it falls apart. Don't wait till you get to the worst case scenario. You can show up to therapy before you get there and prevent that.
Right. Now, I know personally a lot of women who are like we talk about, sit down and have girl talk and we're chatting like, girl, I had this going on and that going on, but they've been doing it for so long that it's it's almost like it's their new normal. So I don't even know if they would like reach out and say, yeah, I probably should get some I should probably talk to someone about this because they are doing it for so long. So what if it takes an extended amount of time for them to even reach that burnout? How do they know like at what point? So, okay, I guess what I'm asking is what is the right point? Like what should they be looking for besides just something doesn't feel right because they've been feeling that way for a while. So what
Yeah.
should they be looking for to say I need to go get help?
Okay. I'll say this much. That's something that we were
Mhm.
also taught. You don't go to therapy unless you're in crisis.
Mm,
If you
true.
think about it, we go to the GYN
Mhm.
on a regular, right? We have a routine for going to the
Right.
GYN. We just go. We don't
Right.
wait till, oh my gosh, I have these symptoms or something's wrong. We just go
Correct.
to the GYN. We go to the
Preventative maintenance.
dentist every 6 months.
Mhm.
We don't wait till we
Yeah.
have a cavity. Some people do, but we're not supposed to.
Right. They know better.
You just go because you know this is
Yeah.
part of your health and you're trying to maintain your health, you're trying to have good health and preserve it. So if we were to approach therapy that way, you don't have to wait to see signs to get to a
Right.
certain point. I'll tell you this much: a lot of the high functioning women that I deal with that are coming and they're self referred, what is happening is either there's a major life transition, like I just
Mhm.
lost a job, I just had to quit my job, um,
Mhm.
or I'm starting this business and it's not what I expected it to be,
Right.
or my business is going through some turmoil, I'm having a problem with someone. It's
Mhm.
usually like a trigger or some incident or some transition, and then they'll be like, oh, I think I might need some help to navigate this. That's usually when they come to therapy. Now, I do have a bunch, and I love them. They'll be like, you know what? It's a brand new year. It's my birthday. And I just feel like I need to explore myself. So I decided I'm
Right.
coming to therapy, for my self care. And I
Right.
love it because they're
Because
like,
it
I
doesn't
saw
have to be all
TikTok.
manis and
Mhm.
petties.
Yep, like a mani pedi. They'll be like, I saw TikTok and they said I should go to therapy for self care. So I'm adding this to my list. I love those, who come like that because I'm like, yeah, I'm here for it. You don't need to have a
Yeah.
crisis. So yeah, that's like the therapy branch of my business and what I do with
Yeah.
therapy.
All right. Tell me about the coaching. Because I think I kept interrupting. So it's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me about the
With the
coaching.
coaching, now the coaching, I love, love, love coaching because I love seeing people come up with ideas, use
Mhm.
their talents, and make it into something, right? So
Yeah.
I mentioned before, like having a business is like a baby,
Mhm.
but we create our babies, but we kind of don't create our babies.
You don't get to
We don't
pick.
get to
You
pick,
don't get
right?
to
You
pick
get what
all
you
the
get.
traits. Yes. Yes.
But I love with the business, it's like, this is what I want to create. This is what I want to
Yeah.
put into it. This is what I want it to
Yeah.
look like and feel like. And you're just part of this development with them. So I love supporting entrepreneurs in that way. Now, most of the entrepreneurs that I work with are women. A lot of them
Mhm.
are moms.
Yeah.
Now, when I introduced myself, I didn't even share that I'm a mom. That might be
Yes,
important to your
so
audience.
you're speaking from experience.
Like, I am a mom.
Yes. And your daughter is
She
16.
is 16, about to be 17. So I like to call us like the Gilmore Girls or the Black Gilmore Girls because we are a
Yes.
party of two. I'm a single mom and it's
Nice.
her. And that is a quite interesting dynamic. I know there are all kinds of
Yeah.
motherhood dynamics, but the single mom, only child dynamic is interesting because
Mm.
you are their mother and you're their friend and you're their
Mhm.
dad and
Mhm.
you're everything. You're
Yep.
their therapist, their nurse, all the stuff. So,
Yeah. Well, I have 2. I'm a single mom as well, but I have 2.
mhm.
So and they're complete polar opposite
Oh,
personalities.
yeah.
I actually did a podcast, with them because we talked about our journey moving here. I had quit my job a little over a year ago, sold my house, moved from Florida to Georgia, and so we did a recap, like, well, how was it from their perspective? And man, totally different personalities on this podcast
Mhm.
episode. And I was like, okay, great.
Yeah.
So
That's something you
yeah.
can't predict. You can't plan
Mm-hmm.
for. Like, I'm going to have multiple children and they have their own
Yeah.
personalities. And you can
Yeah.
raise them exactly
Yep.
the same. They're their own
In the
people.
same
Yep.
household. Same
Mhm.
household. But I'm hoping that as they get older, because we are so close, I'm hoping as they get older, we can have our own little Gilmore Girls going on, so
Yeah.
that we can. I think it's important to let your kids know that you can be their friend as well as their parent.
Yeah.
Like you should be their first friend,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
then you can set the tone for what that should look like, how they should be treated in a friendship, and because
Mhm.
kids are cruel.
Mhm.
Sometimes kids are mean.
Absolutely. And that's a whole probably topic. I don't know if you've covered it yet, like being friends with your kids, because I don't know about you, but I grew up in a Caribbean household. It was like me and you ain't friend.
No,
Um,
I'm not your little friend.
right? I'm not your little friend, like all
I'm
of that.
not your little friend.
So
Oh yeah, families from
yeah,
Trinidad. So
yeah.
yeah.
So my family's from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They weren't playing that. Even as an
Mm-mm.
adult, my father straight up was like, "No, we're not friends. We're not gonna be friends." But
Yeah.
I think that if you understand how to be a friend to your child, it can be very
Hmm.
helpful because your children
Yeah.
then find you as that safe space to come to for very hard things. Now, I know
Yeah.
I went off on a tangent. Back to
We both did. It's okay.
that's fine. We're
We'll come
having a
back.
conversation. I'm sorry, I kind of went off, but I know like the challenges of being a mom and an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
and even being a single mom and an entrepreneur because you don't have that person to kind of like tag team with. It's like
Right.
every decision that you make in your business is tied to your children,
Yes.
what they need,
Yes.
what's happening in their lives, how they're feeling.
Hmm.
So it's like you're making business decisions not just for the business and for you. It's like also your children.
Right. Yep. And because you are a single parent, like you said, you don't have anyone to tag team with. Those decisions that may take you away from them for moments because you have to focus in on this. We hear a lot about work life balance. I don't know that I believe in that. I am leaning towards work life harmony, right? Like, how do we just marry all these things together? So will incorporate my children into some of these things and I'll ask them, hey, so mommy's working. I have the final say, obviously,
Right,
right? Because it's
right.
the business. But I'll incorporate them so they feel like they have buy in. I have learned that when they are bought into the process, then they're some more supportive and more understanding of, when mommy's in the office with the door closed, recording a podcast, and they have to be out there, So it's it's been beneficial for me to incorporate them into some of those decisions and all of that. But like you said, it can be challenging not having someone to bounce those ideas off of.
Yeah,
But we make it
absolutely,
work.
absolutely. And I love that you incorporate them. That's something
Hmm.
that I learned to do as well because I was pretty naive in the beginning, thinking I work from home, home based
Right.
business, so you know I do therapy and coaching from home, and sometimes speaking webinars, whatever it is. And I'm thinking I'm home, and she sees me, so we're all good.
Right. Must be
Yeah,
present.
I'm here. But there got to a point where she was like, I feel very lonely because there's no
Mm,
sibling, there's no other person. She's like, I feel very lonely. So it's like my
yeah.
body is here, but I wasn't engaging with her. And I was just like, wow, even if you are working from home, you still have to
Hmm.
pay attention to, am I present and engaged?
Correct. Yep. Yep. I I learned that last week.
Yeah.
In the podcast episode, I learned I'm improving.
Yes.
She did. They did tell me I'm improving. so, so that's something. But
Yeah.
yes, you're right. There's a difference between being physically there and actually being
Yeah.
present. There's a
And,
difference.
entrepreneurs, we're always working on something, thinking, planning,
Mm-hmm.
processing what
Mm-hmm.
is happening next. What am I doing now? It can be hard to turn that
Yep.
off. When it
Yeah.
comes to how I help entrepreneurs, in coaching, I shared earlier that I help them with business anxiety. And
Mm-hmm.
in business anxiety, for many of us, we may have gone to college or had a certain profession, and we built a lot of skills, and then we want to
Mm-hmm.
take those skills and now start a business with it. That's kind of how I got into business, at least this time around.
Right.
I have stories
Yeah.
of MLMs in the past,
Mm-hmm.
businesses in a box, I see.
Yeah.
I have stories of that in the past, but this was me taking everything that I learned, my skills and my education and experience, and turning it into a business. But the
Yeah.
surprise was when I had to go out there and do the business on my own and start this
Mm-hmm.
thing on my own, I was like terrified. Things that I easily did for my employer and my job, which I did everything that they wanted me to do. If they wanted me to go to an event and have a table and talk to people,
Right.
I would do that. If they wanted me to lead a meeting, I did that. If they wanted me to speak publicly on behalf of the company, I did that. I was doing so much for them
Yeah.
behind the scenes and, you know, everything, just all the roles. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wait, I'm doing this for an employer, but why, when it comes to me, am I not able to do this? So when I
Yeah.
started my therapy practice, people didn't even know. I had no clients because no one knew because I wasn't promoting myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't promoting myself because, one, I was afraid. I was just
Yeah.
scared. I was just
What
like,
if they don't like it?
yeah, what if they don't like
What if
it?
I don't get
What if I
clients?
don't get clients? Am I doing it right? Um,
Yeah.
Like my stuff looked pretty janky in the beginning.
Well, you got to start ugly. You got to start ugly. You just got to
Like
start.
I tell people this, I'm like, listen, if you were to see the things that I had back then, you would think like a sixth grader made my content. Like, and I'm college educated. Like it didn't look
Hmm.
so good. Like what we're not talking about, you know.
But you can show that, and then you can say, "But look at where I
Yeah.
am now."
I
Because
didn't
that's the
have
thing.
that
You got to start.
thought to have like a before and after. But yeah, you're
Mhm.
right.
People are my brother actually told me this yesterday. I said, I wish I would have done more to document the process so that people I can show people where I was versus where I am now. Because but he said to me, he said, well, people never want to show the reality. So when I was in that reality, I don't want to document that.
No.
It wasn't cute. And now I want to, after the glow up, now I wish I would have taken
Yeah.
pictures. I wish I would have taken more video and really
Mhm.
sat in, like when I quit my job, I was in such like mentally bad place and overwhelmed and stressed and all of that. And I wish that I would have sat down with my phone and recorded myself and how I felt in that moment so that, 18 months later, I can say now how big of a change has, has happened. But I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't even want to
Yeah.
be in that moment. But I think people should embrace exactly where they are in
Yeah.
their journey and be okay with this is where I'm at. This is not where I'll be forever, so they can
Yeah.
capture those moments.
Absolutely. I mean, also, not only are you not in that mindset when you're starting out and you're like worried about like, how embarrassed you are or how you're comparing it to somebody else, sometimes you don't even know if you believe it. Like, is it gonna
Mm,
work? I'm not
yeah.
sure it's gonna work. Why would I document? Like, so I never thought
Right.
about sharing that stuff. I share it now.
Yeah.
So I'll share with
Yeah.
you a story that I'll tell people, like one of those started from the bottom. Because I work with a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people who are like, so I started the business, I registered the business and I have a
Mm-hmm.
website and I have my business cards, but I'm not doing anything with it. And then I'll be like, wow, what I'm waiting for the right time. Or I'm waiting for this special desk that I need. Or I'm waiting,
Yeah.
like whatever it is, like I'm waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. I'm gonna take another class
Mhm.
and learn, just fine
Right.
tune my skills before. Yeah. And then I think I need to get a
Right.
coach.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to start and mess up. I need to get a coach so they can put me on the right track. So that
Absolutely.
I can, when I do this, I can make sure it's successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I you
Been
ask
there.
where I start with, when I start with people in business with business anxiety and I assess them, I'm looking for business anxiety cycles where they're in avoidance mode versus action mode. That's the beginning.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
sometimes say start with the list and make that
Yeah.
list 2 columns, avoidance, action. What things are you
Hmm.
avoiding in your
Mm,
business? And what things are you
yeah.
taking action on? And we
Yeah.
start there. It's a great activity because what happens is you start looking at both lists and the things that you're avoiding, why are you avoiding it?
Right.
And when people are avoiding things because it's like, oh, well, my website, I need it to be updated in order to promote myself. No, you don't.
Yeah. No.
No.
It's usually
Yeah.
the revenue generating
Hmm.
activities that are being
Yeah.
avoided. Do you find that
Yeah.
to be? Yeah. Because then that means you have to put yourself out
Hmm.
there,
Yep.
right? Like you have to show up on social media
Hmm.
so you can get that organic
Yep.
marketing going.
Hmm.
You have to reach out to people
Hmm.
on LinkedIn or wherever your, client, may be. You have to actually get out
Yep.
there and
And
do the
talk to
thing.
them.
That's probably what they're
Yeah, they're
avoiding.
avoiding that stuff. And then when in the action side, sometimes it'll be like, "Oh, I updated my business cards or I made a
Yeah.
flyer."
Yeah, nobody to give them
And
to.
it's like, "Okay, you are taking actions, but those
Mhm.
actions will not make or break the business and they're not necessarily necessary to bring in income. Like you said, you have to do income, you know,
Yeah.
uh generating activities. So
Right. Yeah.
just making the business cards, and I'll tell you this, over the years, probably since like 2015, I've made hundreds of business cards and I haven't had one
Mhm.
client from a business card.
Yeah.
Not one. No opportunity, no speaking engagement, no podcast
Yeah.
invitation. Nothing has come from those
Yeah.
business cards. So I just stopped making them. Like,
Right. Yeah. Like, let's save some trees,
yeah.
because
They got digital business cards now, so that's a good thing.
yeah, I have one, and I mean, I go to networking events, and we end up talking, and I'm like, "Oh, wait, can you scan this,
Mhm,
please?"
mhm.
So that we
Right.
can
You
actually
could connect
communicate with each other.
immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we start with the business anxiety cycle. If you're in a business anxiety cycle, you're in avoidance mode. So back to my story, I
Mhm.
was in this business anxiety cycle because I wanted to start my therapy practice and it was kind of out of necessity and need. I had relocated
Mhm.
from New York to South Florida. I unexpectedly got separated and I was going through a divorce. So I did not plan on moving or relocating from New York to
Mhm.
Florida, but I needed income. And I
Yeah.
had no time to wait for an office or the right job or anything like that. So I got online and I was like, I'm going to do online therapy, virtual therapy.
Mhm.
And I actually started my therapy practice in my car,
Wow. Just with like a cell
just
phone?
with my cell phone in my car.
Yeah. Wow. Because that was a quiet place?
That was the quiet place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're a
Wow.
mom or if you got other things going on, there's distractions, there's noise or wherever. So I
Yeah.
started in my car. And I
Yeah.
would say this,
And let me guess, none of your clients cared that you were in the car.
I don't even remember. You know what's funny? I don't even remember if they knew. I don't like
But these are things that we
we were
worry
worried,
about,
right?
right?
I
It's
was
like, oh
worried
my God.
about like being in my car, but I don't
Yeah.
even remember now. And you know what? I had some of those clients for years because that's
Yeah.
not what mattered to them.
No, they have a pain point. They have something that is keeping them up at night and they need someone to help them solve it.
Mhm.
And when they find someone, they don't care where you
Yeah,
at.
you
As
could have been
long
at
as you
McDonald's. I probably.
Yes.
Like,
Like, girl, are those french fries? Like, just worry about the healing
yeah,
process. Like,
yeah.
ah,
So
none of that
I was doing
matters.
it in the car, and I did that for a while until I was able to move into a space where I had space, where I
Yeah.
didn't have to be in the
Yeah.
car. But
Mm-hmm.
I tell people that now because sometimes what they see now, like they'll Google me and they'll be like, "Oh, I saw you were speaking at this place, and I see all this stuff online about you, and you're
Mm-hmm.
doing all these things." And I'm like, that took years to
Yeah.
develop that online footprint, that digital footprint that they talk about. That took years to get like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had started, at the bottom of bottom.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
therapists start in an office, like they'll be like they're rented out of office or rented time from somebody else's office. I started in my car.
In your car, that is powerful. That is powerful because I mean, especially in talking about that cycle of avoidance, right? It is so I just anybody because sometimes people don't hear their own story in these situations, right? But for anybody who is sitting there like, girl, no, I'm just waiting on a couple decorations for the office, and I'm gonna be ready, girl. If you don't start that business now, you can put up the decorations after and then tell the people, look at my pretty decorations. I see because of y'all, I done added some stuff.
Mhm,
Like nobody
mhm,
cares. Just you have to start ugly, but you just have to start. There's a saying, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, right? The second best time to plant that tree is today. People don't we underestimate the value of starting small, but just starting. Like, I remember when, you know, COVID and I was an essential worker and they were still talking about we're going to furlough 20%. I'm sorry, what? I'm a single mother. What am I going to do 20% light on my check? Might have to what? No, I don't even know what I would do to make that money. And so I realized I needed to have an option. And I think it is so important for moms to have an option. For you, you just said that you were not expecting to have to make that move. It was, a surprise to you. Me, furlough was a surprise for me, but things happen. If we don't start something today, we won't have any options when those surprises hit us. I'm glad that you
mhm.
shared that story. Listen, go in your car, people. Okay, put the kids to bed.
Start the
Go in the
business in
car
the car.
and do what you got to do. Do what you have to
Yeah, start the
do.
business in the car. And over time, um not only did I start getting more traction with clients that way, I would go out and do networking, like meet people and go to events. So I started building myself up to get referrals and all of that. So it
Hmm.
definitely was a process and it took time. And as I
Yeah.
went through all of those things, right? So I said the business anxiety cycle.
Hmm.
The other thing was business services. What do I sell? How do I sell it? Now, even though
Right.
I am a therapist, you don't like sell therapy.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you
And
want some
there are
therapy?
rules.
Got some therapy. No, nobody's like, I
Yeah.
want some therapy.
Yeah. Like, oh, you do you have therapy? Because I need something. No, you're right.
I was like, how am I going to offer this support in a way that
Right.
people want it?
Yeah.
They're not, I don't want
Yes.
that therapy. I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah. You're gonna find some stuff in
Right.
there that I didn't even know I had.
The business services part was, how do I brand and market and package this? And that's when I
Yeah.
learned about, oh, creating a niche. Oh, you know, I can specialize.
Mm-hmm.
And in my branding and in the marketing and in the content, I'm talking to these specific people. I'm talking to
Right.
people who are at jobs where they have a difficult boss
Mm-hmm.
and they have challenging coworkers. And now on Sunday nights, they feel nervous and anxious because they got the Sunday
Yep.
scaries or the Monday blues.
Yeah. Oh, was that what that's
The
called?
Sunday
I had
scaries.
that. I had that. Like I could not I was good Fridays and Saturdays, but Sunday night
Hmm.
I was like, my stomach hurt.
Right,
I don't feel good.
right.
Something not right. Maybe I should call out
Hmm.
tomorrow. I I used to say I was very vocal towards the end, right before I quit. I was very vocal about my unhappiness. And I actually like every morning I would wake up and I'd say, "Man, I quit this job. I'm not going. Nope, not going." Alarm clock would go, "I'm not going." And then I would get up and go take a shower and I'd go to work. And every morning like clockwork, I quit my job and I'd get up and I'd go
Hmm.
take a shower and I'd go to work. So Sunday scaries,
Yep.
that's what that's called.
So in
Hmm.
doing so, like the language that I use, the words that I use, the stories, the examples, it was calling
Yeah.
clients to me. I learned how
Right.
to market it and to package it in a way. So it
Yeah.
was like, talking about career stuff or even business things like, oh, you started a business and maybe like your family and friends don't support you and you're trying to make it and you're struggling with what's the right thing for you and should I do this? Should I quit
Mhm.
my job? When should I quit my job? Should I work both my job and
Right.
start the business? So when I started like
Yeah.
packaging it that way, and then I read an article once about careerpreneurs. I didn't make up that concept, but when I read it, I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, I'm a careerpreneur. I treat my career like a business, or sometimes I have a business, I have a business and my career. Like I've had those experiences.
Mhm.
So I was like, a lot of people that are coming to me have that too. They have their
Yeah.
career, their 9 to 5, and they're launching their business on the
Right.
side, or
Oh,
their career is
careerpreneurs.
their business. Like
Mhm.
they're a whole
Mm.
mogul in their whatever their market is. And they're like, I'm
Yes.
the it person in this industry. Maybe it's HR. So they treat their
Yeah.
career like a business. So it's like, yeah, I'm the brand and I could take my brand
Mhm.
from here to over there.
Yeah.
So that
Oh,
language of careerpreneur, entrepreneur, it was calling people in. So like
right.
when I work with coaching clients, it's like, okay, we go through the business anxiety cycle. Then what are your business services that you're offering, that you're selling? How are you branding and marketing and presenting yourself and packaging it? And then
Mhm.
we talk about the money sales anxiety as
Yeah.
well, because it's like, I don't know, I made like $40 an hour at my job. So I'll just do that for my
Mhm.
business. And it's like, mm-mm. If you do that for your business, you are going to burn
Yeah.
out. You have to remember that at some point you want to hire people to do things. At some point, you're
Correct.
going to need to have paid time off, insurance,
Yeah.
retirement. You have to pay for that now. So you're
Yes.
not going to be able to do it on the same salary or
Salary
whatever
that
you
you
were
had.
doing at your job. And some of us don't think that. We're just thinking, oh, I'm just replacing it,
Yeah.
So now you have to
Yeah.
think about these different things with money and then selling.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to be pushy. I don't know if they want
Yeah.
this. So if they want it, they can come find me. But the thing is, you can make a website and have all the
Mhm.
social media, and no one is going to just like really come on there.
Because it's not a
Right.
storefront. It's
Like,
not Target, right? Like nobody's just passing by like, "Oh, wow,
yeah.
Nordstrom's." They're not looking at it like that. So you have to go, you have to set up your storefront and then you have to go cuz people do want to see that you have
Right. They want
something
to
that makes you
know, right. They
legitimate.
want to know that you have proof that you are in business,
Right. Yeah.
but it's not going to attract. And this was the mindset that I was in. I thought it would
Mhm.
attract people just having it up there. right? So if I have a pretty
Right.
website, I don't know how I thought they were gonna find it. Like you probably gonna laugh at this, but I just thought they were just gonna like find it like a storefront.
Like
Right.
Google. Google would tell
Google
them
will
that
tell
I'm
them to come
here.
to me and they're just gonna
Isn't
know.
that Google's job? Like, oh, you search such and such. I know you have to go to Conquer
Yeah.
Network. She's got you.
Right.
She's got you. But Google's like, "Look, I don't play favorites."
And it's not that that can't happen, right? It can
Mm-hmm.
happen because it happens more now. But back then, Google, I wasn't there, right? There was no SEO.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything for Google to tell them to find me. So I had to like
Right.
actually put myself out there. I was going on lives. So that leads me to
Mm-hmm.
the social media anxiety. Oh my God, I gotta
Yeah.
go
Ooh.
live. I gotta make videos. I don't like my voice. I don't like how I look. I don't like how I sound. I have an accent.
It's amazing how many people do not like their voice. So how do you expect anybody else to listen to it?
Yeah.
I always wonder that. I met a lady and she was like, "Oh my god!" And I like the way she talked. I talk with my tongue, and that took me a little while to like get past. Like, girl, you just it is what it is. And she was like, "I hate the way I talk," and I was like, "I love the way you talk." And she's like, "No, no, no, I don't like it." And I was like, "Well, I love it, and I'm guaranteeing someone else out there is gonna love it too." And she's like, "You think?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay." Now she's got a YouTube channel with like 15,000 people who like the way she
Wow.
talks. So you know, she
Yeah.
likes it. She likes it now, it's okay. But it's amazing. I've heard that several times. It was just funny that you said that because I was like, dang.
Mhm.
So that is a
It
thing.
is
I
a
thought
thing.
I just came across those people.
No, it's a
So,
thing that many people deal with, unfortunately, where we don't like to be seen and judged. Like people,
mm,
we want to control people's perception of us. So that's something that I talk about
hmm
too in coaching is impression management. And impression management is something we all do, but it can be used for good or bad. So impression management is
right.
I want to make a good impression on a job interview, so I'm going to wear this nice suit, right? That's impression management.
Yeah.
You want to manage how people see you, like that's a good thing. Or
Right.
you want to manage what you talk about in the interview. You're not going to tell them like, "Oh, last night I got drunk," but like you're not going to tell them that. You're going to tell
Yeah.
them the good stuff, like I'm a great employee. I'm going to show up on time. So impression management can be good. It's not good when you're like um online presenting yourself the way you think you should. Like sometimes people be
mm,
like, I have imposter syndrome, right? But
yeah.
are you also
It's
trying to
like one of those
present yourself
buzzwords.
in another way?
Right. Yeah.
hmm
Hmm.
Yeah.
'Cause I struggle to go live because I'm always like, there's nobody there. Who am I talking
hmm
to? It's weird. Now it's better. Well, because I'm doing the
hmm
podcast, and so now I'm comfortable and
hmm
I'll talk. But I'm like, I'll use the podcast as like that's how
hmm
people will hear about me. I don't like going live,
Yeah.
so I get it.
Yeah.
I get why it's a
Yeah. So the impression management
mm,
with like going live would be I don't want to go live and then no one is on it. I'm going to be embarrassed because, a bunch of people aren't watching it when I'm on. Only one
right.
person looked. Or I have to make sure that my hair and makeup is just done. Like I just had my hair and makeup done because I want to look like I got it together. I don't want to look like what I'm
Right,
going
and
through.
people don't like that.
Huh?
Actually, they want you to look
Yeah.
busted
Sometimes
because they're
the
like,
more real you look, like those are the like posts that I get the
yeah,
most reactions on.
yeah. Like, when you get all done up, they're like, "Oh, she planned that.
hmm
She planned it. I don't
Yep.
like it." But when you look crazy, I they're like, "I
Yeah.
like. Yes, like. That's real life. That's real
Yep, it's
life.
true. It's true. So,
It's real
yeah,
life."
sometimes you're like, oh, I have to look like this and it has to look like that. And no, because people are out here like going viral in their bathroom.
Yeah. Yep. I think what it is that attracts people to that natural showing up naturally is because that's where they are. We often want to talk to people where we want them to be and like from where we are, but I'm learning that you have to talk to people where they are. So like you have to as an entrepreneur, most of us are helping people at a point where we have been. And so we have to remember where we were where our mindset was at that time, physically how we were feeling at that time, in order to really understand where they are, because that's how we reach them. They don't understand, like you talked about, moving into entrepreneurship from being an employee. I have a lead magnet called the Breakaway Blueprint, and it's all about that, because that was the first like big lesson that I learned, was that I had to stop thinking like an employee, and I had to start thinking like a boss,
Yeah.
because nobody tells you that. Nobody tells you that. They're like, you're an entrepreneur and you're the boss, and you're like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the boss.
You know,
But in
yeah.
reality, it's very different, because you were used to taking
Mm-hmm.
instruction. Things were established for you. You did not have to make the big decisions. You didn't have to make the ugly
Mm-hmm.
decisions. Someone else made them for
Yeah.
you. And you're just like, listen, boss said, I'm just doing what the boss said.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, like, after I quit, the first thing I wanted to do was get a coach.
Mm.
I didn't even realize why. I thought it was because I wanted someone to guide me through this process so I wouldn't make mistakes. But in reality, I was looking for another boss. I didn't know that.
Oh,
Didn't know that at the
wow.
time, but I was looking for another boss because I wanted someone to tell
Mhm.
me how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think, and yes, you need to get a coach,
Yeah.
because you do need someone to guide you, but not so that they can be your boss, but so they can help you collapse
Mhm.
time on how to get through the process, how to strategize these things. But that was a huge eye opener for me. Like, ooh, because I think I started, like, behind the scenes, I would be talking to my
Yeah.
friend. I'm like, oh, I was talking to my boss today. Wait, nope. I was talking to my business coach today. And it was like a Freudian slip every single
Wow.
time.
Okay.
Right? I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So, like, subconsciously, I was looking for another
Right.
boss. Didn't even realize it.
Right. I mean, it does
Yeah.
feel good to have someone tell you what to do. I actually had a client tell me that once. Why can't you just tell me what to do?
So I can just do it. Okay. And then if it works, kudos to you. If it doesn't, I have someone to
Right. It's
blame.
your fault.
You told me. But it's not my
Not my
fault.
fault. It's all your fault.
Right. Yes. Yes. Either
Yeah.
way. But if it works out, I'll give you the glory.
I think that is the funniest thing. So I tell people now, like, listen, I can guide you to make the best decision with the information that
Yeah.
you have.
Right. Yeah. That's it.
that's that's what I
Like,
can do.
yeah. These are the
Mhm.
options. These are probably the best
Mhm.
scenario, but you do with that
Yeah,
information what you will.
yeah, and I love that you said you went to coaching. I also went to coaching as well. Some people, they are surprised that I've gone to therapy and coaching. I feel like it's
Yeah.
important for me to be on both sides to see what it's like.
Right.
So I've been on both
Yeah.
sides, being coached and being a
Mhm.
coach. And it's really a great thing because you get to understand it from their perspective and how they're coming to it. And
Mhm.
it's like, is this going to work? I hope it's going to work. But then also understanding that as a coach, I can't do the work for
Yeah.
you. You have to do the
Yeah.
work. You have to show up. I can give you everything that I know. And that's one thing. If you work
Mhm.
with me and I'm coaching you, I'm going to give you everything. Every
Yeah.
mastermind that I've been in, every conference, everything that I've learned, every skill that I have, once you pay me, I'm going to give it to
Yeah.
you. I just can't do it for
Yes.
you.
Right. That's refreshing, because there are so many coaches, I think, that do gatekeep
Yeah.
because they have a plan. So I have to get you in at my entry
Yeah.
level, right? Where I'm going to expose
Yeah.
it now. I'm going to expose what these coaches are
Yeah.
doing. They want to get you in at like a course level or a
Mhm.
one-on-one level, because the big goal is to get you into like a mastermind, right? So if I give you everything now, then you may not want to stay. Even though, I mean, as a coach, you're constantly learning, you're constantly improving yourself. So there is always more to give, but it seems as though this is their, how it's working. So they gatekeep a lot of information. They like spoon feed you. But I think if people are paying you to help them collapse time, then you should just give them everything. They're, first of all, most people aren't going to be able to use all of it.
No.
So they might have to take notes to use later. But I think it's refreshing to know that there are Thank you, girl. That there are coaches out
Yeah,
there who are like, I'm gonna give it to
yeah.
you. I'm gonna give it to you.
And the
Do
thing
with
is,
it
if
what
you
you
give
will.
someone everything and they were like, that helped me, they're gonna come back to you.
Correct. Yeah. Like, tell me that thing again. You remember you had mentioned
Mhm.
something, and tell me that again. Most people will do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
They couldn't maybe process it at the time, but they're gonna come back.
Right.
They're gonna
Exactly.
come back. There's no
Exactly.
need to get.
And like you mentioned something very important, like there are different levels. So you might start with a course or a challenge or something like that. And then you move into like group coaching and then individual coaching and then the mastermind. But you got to look at it like kindergarten. If you're in kindergarten
Mhm.
and someone is telling you about, I don't know, the branches of government, you're just like, okay.
Right. That's cool.
You're still trying to figure out the
Right.
alphabet. So they're
Mhm.
gonna have to keep coming back
Mhm.
anyway to understand it and process it and learn
Correct.
it. So yeah, if
Yes.
someone asks me a question, like I don't gatekeep like, oh, I can't tell you that yet, or you're not
Yeah.
ready for that. I'm just gonna tell you, and
Oh,
if you use it and it works,
yeah.
great. Because my thing is, I believe there's something really great if you can get your clients to be at your level and surpass you. Um,
Mhm.
it is a testament to your work. Like, I don't want people, even in therapy, I'll tell them, like, I do want you to graduate from therapy. I don't want you to be
Yeah.
like still stuck a year later. That doesn't look good for either one of us.
That's bad
Yeah.
marketing.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with you doing well. Like, I'm glad that you're happy
Right.
and successful and well now. Like, this is good.
Yeah. Yeah. We could do some
Yeah.
check-ins, if you ever feel like you need a little
Mhm.
support, but
Yeah, we
you
want
know.
people to do that. And then, for myself, like some coaches that were my coaches that I work with, I started off,
Mhm.
being coached. And then over time, I was like invited to their stage. Like, hey, can you come
Yeah.
speak on a panel? Hey, can you come host a webinar? Can you be part of my program? So I like graduated
Yeah.
into being part of it. That's an amazing
Right.
thing when you work with people that
Yeah.
they're not afraid of you getting there and collaborating with
Yes.
you.
Yes. That's awesome. That is awesome. When we're done, tell me who you coached with, so that because I haven't met coaches like
Okay. Yeah.
that. So,
Again, I'm not
yeah.
gatekeeping. I want, everybody to do well. So I don't have a problem with that at all. And basically when it comes to like business anxiety, we go through all these things. We go through a business anxiety cycle. We're trying to like it's like double dutch. Like, when can I jump in? I'm
Mhm.
afraid. I'm afraid. And then you get in there and now you're jumping, and then you have to figure out these other
Yeah.
things like what services am I selling? How am I packaging it? Um, we have to work through our money issues, money anxiety, sales anxiety, the social media anxiety,
Mhm.
the networking anxiety. You go to the conferences and the business meetings. Sometimes it can feel intimidating. I remember one
Right.
time someone came up to me and they were like, Seneca, I don't know how you are talking to these people. And I was like, what people? And she was like, you're talking to like these people, like they're millionaires, like they're
Mhm.
successful. And I was like, before they were millionaires, they weren't. They were people and they're
Right.
still people.
Yeah.
And
And they're
yeah.
actually easier to talk
Hmm.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're actually easier to
Hmm.
talk to because when I find that when people stop thinking about the
Hmm.
money, then they just want to talk about like strategy and like how they got
Hmm.
there and all the different things. It's easier to talk to
Hmm.
them because money is not the object for
No.
them. For whoever asked you that question, their focus was, oh my God, they are a millionaire and I can't speak to them. They're words,
Hmm.
words. They understand them.
Yeah. And
So
that sometimes comes with how
yeah.
you feel about yourself or what you learned about money and people with money. I have never, um, nope, I have never encountered any negative experience talking to someone that was in
Hmm.
leadership or had a lot of money or anything like that. I have not had. As a matter of fact, like you said, they've been very helpful. They
Yeah.
want me to be successful. Like, they want to
Yeah.
share with me what they learn. And I
Right.
soak it in like a sponge.
Yeah.
So, that's something. So, like working through that networking anxiety, and if you identify as an introvert, which I am, I say I'm an ambivert, but I lean more to introvert.
Yeah.
And, I dealt with social anxiety as well. So I had to work through that. And people don't believe it. Again, I didn't document this process. So now they see me, they're like,
Hmm.
no, you didn't.
Yeah. Well, just because I can speak does not mean that I don't prefer to not
Mhm.
speak.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But I worked through it and I learned, because I went to therapy and I went to coaching, and I learned how to do it, and build
Hmm.
myself to be able to do it. So those things helped me with those conferences and all of that. And then,
Yeah.
learning how to not burn out, learning how to
Right.
prevent that burnout and that work life harmony. As you said, I say work life
Hmm.
alignment. If it's not in alignment with my
Yeah.
life, I want my work to go around my life versus my life around my work. A lot of people plan their
Hmm.
life around work, and there's
Yeah.
no room for life after that.
Yeah. Very true.
Mhm.
Very true. It can be extremely overwhelming. I wanted to ask you about niching because you mentioned it a couple times. And I find that that is the most difficult thing for people to do is to niche down because either they're afraid I might leave money on the table if I don't include, all of these people. But it is very important to niche down. One, because you get clarity on how to market to people. You cannot talk to everybody because then nobody hears you. You have to be talking to a specific subset of people so they know, she's talking to me, right? So my question is, why do you think it is so difficult for people to niche down? Besides leaving money on the table, from a business coaching aspect, what have you found is the most common reason that they struggle with
I'll
doing that?
use two examples of why niching is important, and an example that I give clients who have a hard time with it. So, one of the reasons you want to niche is because people are looking for you. When you
Hmm.
go on Google and you look up something, you're typing in certain words.
Right.
If you're like, I'll use my profession, for example, therapist, right? So, if you're just like, I'm a
Hmm.
therapist, I just see everybody and do everything. Usually people when they type in Google, they don't just type therapy.
Right.
They'll put in black therapist, female therapist, black female therapist, nervous about work, marital
Hmm.
problems, children not behaving. They'll put in these different things. That's how
Yeah.
they find you. So
Right.
now,
So if you're
yeah,
not speaking to that, then they
they
can't find
can't
you.
find you. It's like an
And you
address.
just got a
Like,
pretty website.
like there's no numbers. Like, they can't find you. You're invisible. So
Yeah.
when I explain it to that,
Yeah.
like, yeah, how will they find me if they're just typing in and I don't have anything out there that's showing come to me. Now, here's
Hmm.
where people get caught up in that. I'm using therapists again. Yeah, but I don't want to like reject anybody. I don't want to turn anybody away. I don't want anybody to feel this kind of way. And some people just don't believe in having a niche. That's
Hmm.
fine. You still need to have a brand.
Hmm. Mm.
So now I'm going to use the example of another example. Actually, I have three examples that I use with clients. So the other example from niching is it helps you to not burn out. When I
Right.
was like seeing everybody and anything for therapy and coaching, I found that every time I had a new client with a new thing, I couldn't like specialize in it. I couldn't develop an expertise. I would find myself
Hmm.
burning out because I'm like, okay, how do I help this person? How do I help
Right.
that person? I gotta look this up. I gotta do research. But then when I was like, let me just focus, it was so effortless to have client
Right.
after client after client, and I knew exactly what to say. I knew exactly how to
Hmm.
help them. It was easier for me to close a client and for them
Hmm.
to be on board. It was a lot easier
Yeah.
for
Because it's
them to know that I could help them.
mhm. Right. Because there's consistency in what their challenges
Mhm,
are. There's consistencies in what, questions they're asking
mhm,
themselves on how do I do this? How do I do that? So, like you said, it allowed you to become a specialist so you can focus in and become
mhm.
excellent at just servicing that
Yeah.
need. So yeah,
So
that
then I'm
makes a
not
lot of
burnt
sense.
out because I'm trying to be like, oh, like for example, if one were to come to me and be like, remember I said I do high functioning anxiety and depression. If someone were to come to me
Mm-hmm.
and be like, I have schizophrenia, even
Yeah.
though I was trained, like clinically
Mm-hmm.
trained, that is not my specialty. I would be out
Right.
there like, hold up, let me go get this
Yeah.
book.
Let me call
Let
a
me call a
colleague.
colleague. Let me research for some hours. It would take a lot,
Yeah.
and I probably wouldn't be the best to
Mm-hmm.
service that person. So it's a disservice to me
Right.
and them because they're not
Mm-hmm.
getting what they need. So, like,
Yeah.
like I said, I have a lot of examples because this is very common. I also give people like, okay, you
Right.
don't want a niche, fine. You don't have to niche. And I give the example of Target and Walmart.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Target
Two very
sells
different
food and
clientels.
clothes and toys and whatever. So does Walmart,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they're not the same.
No. Because Target's carts are always perfect. None of them wheels ain't none of the wheels are raggedy.
Right?
They have
Right?
perfect carts. Their customers are not gonna deal with raggedy carts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Different brands.
Yeah.
So, when you
Yeah.
go to Target, you get dressed different than when you go to Walmart.
Mhm.
I've heard people say this,
Yeah.
like, I actually dress up a little bit more for Target.
It's Target.
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 I've heard people say that.
Yes, it's
I look a
true.
little
Like
nicer when I go to Target.
yes.
And
I
yeah,
think people will be more inclined to go to Walmart, like if they just got done doing
mhm.
yard work and they're like, I'm just going to Walmart.
Right?
Right? Let me just wipe my hands off on my shirt. I'm just going
Yep.
to Walmart. If they're going to Target, let me take a shower first. I've been in the
Exactly.
yard all day.
Exactly.
Let me take a shower.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
true.
Or you
Guilty.
spend a little longer in Target too. Like Walmart, you
Yeah.
in, out. Target,
Yeah.
it's like, wait.
And you know exactly where everything
Mhm.
is. It's always the same. Target is like a department store. It's like a
Yeah.
Kohl's,
Yeah.
So you go in there and you're like, oh, they have a new display. Let me stop and let me look. They are
Mhm.
you're catering
Mhm.
to two different
So
people.
yeah, when I
You're
share
absolutely
that,
right.
I use that as an example. It's like, okay, if you don't want a niche, fine. You want to sell everything, but you still have to be a brand because that's what people
Yeah.
are attracted to. Some people are like Target people. That's where they go. Some people are Walmart. Some people will go
Hmm.
between the both, but they know they're different.
Yeah. So you started with doing oh my gosh, I forget now. Um you did say what it was. I'm so sorry that I forgot what you started with, but now you specialize in helping entrepreneurs. But that's not where you started. So what made you make that switch?
In the beginning, I was a generalist and I saw
Hmm.
everybody. I saw children as young as 4 years old, up to 74
Oh
years
wow.
old. I
Oh, that's
saw
exhausting.
people that had substance abuse, criminal justice, domestic violence. I
Hmm.
worked in agencies as well. The only
Okay.
place I haven't worked is in a hospital setting, but I worked in group practices. So I work with a lot of different populations. I used to work in people's
Hmm.
homes. I used to go into their
Wow.
homes, children with developmental disabilities, children with
Hmm.
autism. So I work with a lot of populations enough to know what I didn't want to do anymore. So I
Right.
think sometimes when people are starting a business, they're like, "Oh, I have to choose a niche." It's okay to like try some things out. Like
Hmm.
trying on some clothes, try some things out. How does it feel? And I
Yeah.
just knew that when I worked with clients who were high functioning and professionals, I just had this calling like they need help.
Yeah.
No one usually is listening to them. Even some of them have complained to me
Hmm.
like, I've gone to therapy before, but it wasn't helpful because they just talked to me like a friend. They weren't challenged because they presented
Right.
so well.
Yeah. So you can actually see them and all the things that they're hiding, and you help them to pull it out so they can actually deal with it and heal from it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
What you're doing is very needed. And I hope that people who are listening will take away that do a little self assessment. Has everything been okay? Is everything functioning right? Am I feeling okay? Because if not, then like you say, do not wait for crisis to happen. Reach out. again, we're putting all your information in the description box and in the show notes so that they know how to get in contact with you, because you are an amazing resource and people definitely need to reach out and get all the help that they can get. We could probably talk for like another hour
I'm sure
because
we
this
could,
is
and I would love to come back.
I would love that. I would love that. Absolutely. Because it is, I mean, obviously, we didn't catch everything in this. I mean, so many little nuggets, especially because you combine, the therapy with business, right? So, can't do everything right now. We talked for niche for like 15 minutes. So, but very needed. And I would love to have you back. I would love to have you
I would
back.
love to be back. Thank you so
So,
much. Mhm.
yay. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for those who are watching on YouTube. Again, don't forget, go ahead and press subscribe so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.